Hi again, everyone, and thank you for joining our webinar. We are really glad to have you all here with us. Today, we are going to discuss what kind of configurations can make your WordPress site scalable, highly available, bulletproof against any downtimes or malware attacks. And Jelastic CEO Ruslan Sinitsky will share the details about our clustered WordPress solution, specifically designed for enterprise availability. And meanwhile, you are free to write your questions in the chat, and we will try to answer all of them during this webinar. And at the end of our talk, a special offer is waiting for you, so stay with us and be active. And now we are ready to start, so Ruslan, welcome.
Hi everyone, thank you Tatiana for a great introduction. I'm so happy to see many people from different countries. It's very pleasure to meet different opinions, to learn different opinions, and to understand different experience. We love international community. We have partners in many countries and customers in many countries. So I'm very thankful that you joined today's webinar. So today at the webinar, we are going to learn how to build highly available and scalable WordPress solution. So, and believe me, WordPress in general looks simple, but when it comes to clustering, it's really complex. So it's not easy to set up manually, let's say, right? So today's webinar will be useful for digital agencies that manage large projects, let's say, or for hosting companies that are offering managed services for their customers, or even unmanaged services but with advanced automation, or even for end customers who are just managing the websites by themselves. So, and they want to learn how to build highly available and scalable solutions for WordPress. So are you ready, guys? Then let's move on. I believe it's not a secret that WordPress is the most popular CMS on the market. So according to statistics collected by W3 Tech website, current usage is about 35%. So among all CM websites, let's say, it's a huge number. There are large companies like TechCrunch, CNN are hosting their websites using WordPress. And if we analyze, if we compare, let's say, different CMS, specifically describe it on this page, you can see that WordPress is just very much leading current situation. Let's say it's more than 60% compared to others. So it's a great numbers. It means people love WordPress, people use WordPress, and it's a great solution for different use cases. However, like what kind of problems people face while they are using WordPress? We get the statistic from Pagely website. There is a link. You will be able to get the link and review by themselves. And they highlight, so they did a survey and customers highlighted the following issues. Like performance issue is the biggest one. So, and it's really bad when website is slow, because at the end it brings bad experience for end customers. So end customers spend more time while browsing your website. And it can be even so annoying that customers can leave earlier. So instead of spending the same amount of time and on your website and reading content, they just waiting while pages are loading. And second one, of course, is security issues. So we hear often the websites are hacked, and to apply best security practices is a mandatory nowadays. Of course, site-breaking updates is another big challenge for users of WordPress, because sometimes you can update plugin or to update to a new version of WordPress and your website is not working anymore. So it's another big challenge. And uptime is huge problem as well today. So while let's focus on uptime. If your website goes down during the big sales event, for example, like Black Friday or Cyber Monday, you can lose a lot of money. Even during the normal day, if you have a huge traffic, so your, let's say, website is selling something and you just went down, like, so you lose money. But it's not only about money, it's about reputation. So your customers trust you less at the end, which is not good. And yep, an additional problem is team destruction. So instead of focusing on product and delivering something better to your end customers, you have to fix the downtime issues. So it's not really interesting. And you know, teams, if you face often downtimes, teams becomes unhappy because it's a huge problem for the company and for end customers. But do companies with highly loaded projects use WordPress? And statistics says yes, they do. We found another interesting statistic that says about 40% of most loaded, most trafficked websites are using WordPress today. It's again, like, it's a big number, and I'm very happy that WordPress got so big popularity. How to handle this big traffic, let's say. It's not an easy, and just simple VPS cannot, very often cannot handle the required load. And as we know, like, almost any infrastructure goes down, even if it's a cloud, like the whole data center can go down. So how to overcome such kind of challenges, what we can use to reduce impact from potential downtimes, and how we can speed up performance. And one of the solutions that people use, it's a clusterization. So when we build let's say WordPress, when we host WordPress site, base it on multiple nodes, multiple application server nodes, and multiple database nodes, let's say, and multiple maybe even load balancers. So that's this kind of clustering helps people to get better stability and better performance. But how to set up a cluster? As I mentioned, again, it's not an easy task. To set up a WordPress in a simple VPS, today it's not a problem at all. So many websites offering the solution. But to set up a cluster, there are not so many automation tools on the market. And what kind of steps you need to perform manually for getting your clusters up and running? Of course, you need to configure application servers, specifically their scaling while load is coming, so to add new nodes. Scaling can be vertical and horizontal. Vertical scaling is a little bit easier, but horizontal scaling can be really challenging. You need to have specific metering system to understand, okay, what is the current load, and then you need to have some kind of orchestration to add and remove nodes timely when load is growing and going out. And then you need to, of course, set up load balancing to distribute the load across your application servers. And to achieve havability, it's better to have like 2 load balancers, let's say. And of course, the next level is a database where we store state of the application, when we store the data. To use one database, it's not enough for highly loaded websites, so you have to have some cluster again. People use different kind of clustering. It can be master-slave, master-master, or even Galera cluster. And not only setting up database, you need to optimize performance of the database, because there are so many parameters that can influence your performance of your application. And of course, one of the best practices is adding shared storage and file replication to share media files across your application servers, I would say, right? And another one, best practice, is adding object cache for reducing load on your database and speeding up performance in general. And then after you did it, let's say all this configuration, only after you deploy WordPress on top of this. So to get just initial setup, you have to learn a lot of things, like specifically to configurations of different application stacks. You need to review best practices. You need to know how to optimize it, and you need to know how to troubleshoot it and how to update it at the end. And honestly, it's not an easy task. So if you know how to make it happen, you're probably a rich guy already, because people are willing to pay for this knowledge, significant amount of money, so you can easily find a job. However, if it's not your, let's say, core business, right? So you are focusing on another tasks, let's say, it's a challenging for you to set up manually. And after even you set up WordPress on top, you need to think about additional stuff that improve security, for example, the SSL certificates, how to integrate them into the cluster, and if you have like two load balancer, like how to synchronize this SSL certificates after renewal, and of course how to configure CDN in your cluster and how to perform updates during the time. So as you can see, it's quite challenging list of actions you have to do during WordPress clustering configuration. So what we have on the market, we analyzed the current solution, and we found actually very interesting articles from Review Signal. This company does review of hosting companies, and in last year they did comparison of many hosting companies that offer WordPress hosting. So at this presentation, we are focusing specifically on large configurations, on enterprise kind of offerings. So, and you can see the names of companies that are offering a solution for large projects already. And information is quite interesting. As you can see, it's quite pricey still today, right? If you go to WordPress.com VIP, you will have to pay about $5,000 for such kind of setup. And it's only allowed for one website. So if you want to add one more, like extra 5,000. Again, like it's okay, like for big projects that have money, but we believe it can be accessible for guys with, you know, for less money at the end. And another interesting point to consider is topology. What kind of topology these companies use for achieving high availability and high performance. So many of them is use clustering, but even some do not use. They use just big dedicated servers, which is okay as well. But what happens if this hardware fails? So cluster, from our point of view, is the right way to go. So how Jelastic can help? Our goal was again like to, first of all, to remove manual, to remove tasks that require manual interactions. So to provide advanced automation. So when you can get all these complex tasks done for you by a system, by an orchestrator. So you don't need to be an expert to get it up and running. So that's number one. And reducing amount of efforts required from humans, we can reduce the cost of such solution. So reducing the cost was the second goal for our work that we did. So, and what we have today, after let's say like 2 years of work, so it didn't happen honestly during a month. We spent a lot of time while building this automation and analyzing different topologies and performance results. So today we have quite advanced topology that consists load balancer. We use Lightspeed Web ADC load balancer, or Nginx can be used instead of. So we prefer, let's say, we recommend to use Lightspeed because according to our tests, it provides better performance, and it's already HTTP 3 ready. And actually, Lightspeed is focusing on WordPress and Magento very much. So these guys know their job very well. We also use Lightspeed as a web server. And again, like it's possible to use Nginx instead of Lightspeed, but by default, we recommend to use Lightspeed web server. In each container, we deploy, in each container with Lightspeed web server, we deploy Redis for object cache. So it reduces number of requests to database, and it speeds up significantly performance at the end. Also, we added automatic triggers for horizontal scaling. So when load is coming higher than a specific trigger, then our system will automatically add new nodes to the cluster and reconfigure the cluster accordingly. Also, there is a vertical scaling when one container can get more resources without the need to scale horizontally. And of course, we added integration with SSL. By default, we offer Lsync SSL with automated renewal. So when time is coming to the end of the certificate time, let's say, our system will automatically renew and redeploy SSL certificates inside the cluster. We also added integration with CDN. We decided to go with Verizon Edgecast because it's really like enterprise kind of solution. And it's already HTTP ready. It's available around the world. So we tested this and we like it very much. So we added the solution into our package as well. And we did performance tuning and performance testing and fine tuning to make sure that our cluster works properly. And in addition, we applied our next generation billing model, which is called like pay per use. And we will talk about this a little bit later. So at the end, it looks quite simple. You go to marketplace of Jelastic and you can find the WordPress package, click a button and you will see wizard. So this wizard provides several check buttons and one drop down. So for drop down, you can specify, let's say, let me show demo, by the way. Yeah. So you press a button, WordPress cluster, and scaling strategy defines when to add new nodes. So for example, medium when CPU load is more than 50%, right? High load when the CPU load is more than 30%, and it will add 2 nodes at once. Then you specify, okay, like I want to use Lightspeed high performance web server. Please note this server is a commercial option because Lightspeed is really great solution, so they charge some additional money for this. You don't need to worry about, go to a Lightspeed website and buy dedicated license because it's already integrated inside our solution. So we automatically issue the license for you. And then you can enable web application firewall, which is based on Komodo mod security rules. And you can install MariaDB Galera cluster. Or if you don't click this checkbox, we will install master-slave replication topology for your MariaDB. And of course, there's an option to install, as I mentioned, premium CDN and install Lsync, as well as the ability to install WordPress multi-site network. So quite easy, as you see, like I just press buttons, yeah, and then I can choose a region if your cluster, if your service provider offers different regions, so you can choose different locations. Yeah, let's press a button and deploy this cluster. In a few minutes, we will get the cluster up and running. I have one already, just for demo purpose. Let's go to the next slides. As I mentioned, we choose Lightspeed because it's really fast and developers are pretty responsive to our questions. So we enjoyed collaborating with Lightspeed team. I described already how horizontal scaling works. So there are 3 different modes, low load, medium load, and high load. So it really depends on your application because load is generated mostly by your plugins used by your website, or like custom logic used by your website. So then on database level, as mentioned, we use Galera cluster with auto failover mechanism. So if one node fails, all traffic will be redirected to other nodes. And when the nodes gets up and running again, it will be rebalanced, data will be rebalanced inside. At the moment, we use one shared storage container for sharing media data between application servers. Also, GlusterFS is available per request. In the future, we are going to add it as a checkbox as well. We recommend to use shared storage for media files, so to offload your all media files to this storage container and do integration with CDN, because it will speed up significantly a lot of media files. And Let's Encrypt is integrated automatically, as I mentioned, so it will automatically reissue certificate when it comes to the end. And Premium CDN with more than 5,000 global interconnections and about 145 points of presence on 6 continents. And there are integrated security features built in, mostly from Lightspeed. We will cover this in details in the following articles. I just want to mention that there is some set of security features integrated already. And Multisite, so you can add as much websites as you want, so because you own the cluster at the end. So good, we have, let's imagine we have the cluster, we are running this, and in months we have an update, what to do. So there are 2 ways to update the cluster. So first of all, we need to think about how to update WordPress core. Update process is quite straightforward, so you don't need to do anything extra as usual. So you go to WordPress admin panel and press button update now. So that will update your WordPress core. But if you want to update software stacks, because sometimes security issues happens on lower level, not only inside WordPress, but in software stacks, you can use integrated feature, which we call like redeploy containers, and redeploy to the next version of software stack. We provide certified containers for each stack, for load balancer, application server, databases. So if new version is available, you can easily redeploy to that new version. Good. So what about performance testing? How to understand like if our cluster is working properly? So we did performance testing based on the following parameters. So there is a request path, and we used about 20 workers with 500 threads per each. So in total about 10,000 threads, which means about 10,000 concurrent virtual users. And we put load on our cluster, and at the end we got the following results. So as you can see, we are pretty in line with all the other companies that offer a solution today on the market. I cannot guarantee like 100% that the tests are exactly the same that it was performed by Signal Review. It's quite similar, let's say, right? Exactly the same performance will happen in 2020. We sent requests to owners of Signal Review, and we will participate in performance testing for 2020 year. So we will see exact results at the end. However, our internal test shows that we are standing pretty good now compared to all other players. Now it is the most interesting part, let's say, billing, how billing works. People who are familiar with Jelastic already understand that Jelastic introduced the game-changing pricing model, which we call pay-per-use. It means, like, for example, when you go to traditional VM-based cloud vendors, you buy virtual machine and you always pay for the limit. It doesn't matter how much resources you use. Jelastic is different, like, so you can set limits, which can be resized on the fly, and you pay only for what you use, for real usage. We believe that this model is more fair, specifically when you use multiple nodes, multiple containers, so you do not waste resources in each separate container. and there is a big room for vertical scaling, which is actually much easier compared to horizontal scaling. So we did again like performance testing and compared, analyzed how much resources were consumed by clusters at different loads. And the basic, let's say, unit is cloudlet, we call, resource unit. One cloudlet equal 128 megabyte and 400 megahertz of CPU. So, and as you can see, at different load, we have different consumption of cloudlets. So cloudlet is the basic resource unit. Again, like the price is mostly based on cloudlets and let's say software license and CDN license. Software license, Lightspeed license. So, and if we apply this data to, if we apply cost related to cloudlet, we will see the following numbers, which a Jelastic billing model is based on hourly billing. So we analyze how much resources we consumed during each hour, and then we apply cost of these resources. It means, again, like if you had load spike only for like 1 hour or only for 2 days, so you will pay for this spike only during the period that your cluster consumed resources. When load goes down, your cost will go down as well. This brings some complexity. It's pretty hard to say in advance how much money it will cost for your website because load is variable, right? And different applications have different plugins inside and different structure of the code. So it's not easy to predict how much money will it cost. However, believe me, if your load is variable, it's very cost efficient because you pay only for what you use. So when you consume more resources, you just pay for this time you consume these more resources, and you have these resources available for you at any time. But if you don't consume them, you don't pay for them. In addition to existing pay-per-use model, for example, some vendors offer packages to simplify understanding, like, right, for customers who want to know now what is the maximum, let's say, they can pay, right? And it's based on assumptions that cluster will consume the whole amount of resources during 100% of the time during the month. So it means like you consume all resources. So you have like permanent high load. So as you can see, there are two packages, cluster business and cluster enterprise. It specifies specific details. We also provided smaller packages for, let's say, low-loaded projects, which is based on standalone. It's not enough for high availability, but it's good for performance. It's quite highly performing setup. So we put all the stacks inside one container, and this container can be scaled vertically. Again, as I mentioned, it's good for performance, but for high availability, you still have to have cluster. Otherwise, like if physical node goes down, like, or your container goes down, your website will go down as well. So this is why we recommend to consider clustering when you have large traffic. So at the moment, this solution, specifically with all commercial add-ons like CDN, like Lightspeed, is available on the following service providers, our partners around the world. You may install the same solution on other partners as well. However, for example, not everyone is offering yet Lightspeed, let's say, or CDN. And I believe a number of service providers that are offering full package will be increased soon because it's quite fresh and quite new solution. Good. That's in short. Do we have any questions so far, Tatiana? So
far, we had several questions. Some of them I answered already in the chat, but we also have some others that are just coming. First one is it possible to transfer existing environment from one Jelastic provider to another? How to do it?
Okay, good. So there is an option export data. However, it's better to reach our support team, and our support team will assist. Just to mention what Jelastic does and how we work. So Jelastic is a software company, so we build software. We collaborate with data center providers around the world. So at the moment, it's about more than 70 data centers in more than 30 countries already, and number is growing. So we play a role as an arbiter, let's say, in some way. So we try to keep neutrality. So let's say, do not promote like one provider against another one, like, right? But however, reality is the following: some providers can offer better performance of infrastructure and better quality of services, and some providers are struggling with this because it's not easy. Anyway, if you want to migrate from one service provider to another one, and you have some difficulties to do it manually, let's say by yourself, feel free to reach our team, and our team will help you, first of all, to migrate your website to another provider, and second, to figure out, to clarify, like, why you want to migrate. Like, is it a cost issue or is it support issue? Because we don't like a situation when migration is forced by quality of support. If something like this happens, please let us know, and we have specific tools, let's say, or approaches to improve the situation. Like, because time to time we review marks for quality of support, marks for performance of our partners, and at the end it's visible at our catalog of our partners. So you can go and analyze different parameters of partners, like quality of support, performance, region, cost, free resources, their specification, because some providers are better in, let's say, in WordPress, and other providers can offer more advanced services, let's say, like around Kubernetes or virtual private cloud. So if something is not working for you, please feel free to reach us out, and we are pretty open, and we'll help you with migration or to clarify issue with your current service provider.
Just to add here, just to clarify that we have a special system for that. So we have a special functionality that helps to import and export. So this is rather automated process. So anyway, you have a possibility to migrate. But of course, if the project is complex, it's better to contact Jelastic support for us to help you and not to have any issues with this process. So
I just opened this documentation. So just print Jelastic export import in Google, and you will get to this web page. But again, just to mention, if something doesn't work for you, feel free to reach us, and we will help you.
Yeah. Okay. So
okay, good.
Other questions, and some of them are really connected with each other. Guys are asking, is it fully available for Jelastic private cloud customers? The second question that is also connected. If we didn't want to go with your partners, but instead use Jelastic ourselves, is there a way to do that yet? And third, that is also kind of connected, can we use a white label to our customers?
Very great questions. Thank you, guys. So yeah, let me jump a little bit forward, right? Because we had this information. There are several options. As I mentioned, Jelastic is a software company. We work with service providers around the world. You can get enterprise WordPress cluster kit up and running at one of our providers. If you go with our providers, you will enjoy pay-per-use model. That's a big difference, let's say. Like, so you can pay only for resources you consume. However, it's possible to install on top of bare metal or on top of any public cloud provider like Amazon or even DigitalOcean, right? And run this by yourself or request managed services from our team. The difference here is in pricing. So in this case, you will pay for all resources from cloud vendor to you install it on top of. For example, if you go with Amazon, you will have to pay for resources, for whole resources used at Amazon. because we don't control this. We cannot force Amazon to apply pay-per-use model, and somebody should pay for these resources. So it's possible, yes. However, please take it into account, it's a different pricing model. And answering next question, is it possible to white label to your customers and offer this? Yes, it is possible. It's even, we do this, we created some example of landing page where you go, for example, this landing page is connected to our demo cluster. So I can write like, okay, my VP cluster. So it checks if this name is available. Okay, this name is available. Then it automatically pulls regions available at our cluster, Jelastic cluster specifically, I mean. So and I choose, for example, this region, and we specify packages we want to offer. So this is fully customizable. You can easily update information here. So let's say we go with recommended plan, and you can see the topology, and then just press button create and deployment. This landing page will redirect to a billing system and request your customer to, to put a credit card and to do the initial payment for the first month. And after customers complete the step, the system will automatically provision the cluster and send email and notify that cluster is up and running. So that's an example how to make full white labeling of the platform and make it even more simple. Because by default, we provide advanced UI, let's say, for experts, let's say, for sysadmin guys, for DevOps guys, right? But it's possible to offer for less advanced customers in the way I already demonstrated, like by a simple landing page, specifying just environment name, email, and that's it.
And also,
and at the end, for service providers that want to manage many customers, you will be able to get to Jelastic cluster admin panel and see and analyze what kind of environment customers use, what they have inside, what kind of actions they did, if they faced any issues or not. Like, so there is a full turnkey solution for managing large amount of projects inside the cluster.
Also, okay. I'd like to add here that the customization can be not only like for the page that you mentioned, but also the customization on the level of the platform itself. So the dashboard can be with your logo, the Jelastic cluster admin panel can be also customized. The dashboard can be localized to different languages and so on and so forth. So customization and localization is fully available here as well.
Yeah, so logo, domain, emails, I believe as well. Like, so many things can be customized.
Yeah. Okay, some other questions we have. What's your recommendation for backup system for Jelastic's cloud environments?
Very good question. I expected this one. So at the moment, we recommend to go with some plugins. So you can install plugins. We will publish an article about this for backup. Some service providers, not some, majority, let's say the vast majority of service providers do backup of the whole infrastructure by default. So it's backed up by default for you. However, you need to send request if you want to do a restore of your application. If you want to have a better control of backup and manage by yourself, at this point, we recommend to install plugins for backup. We will follow up specifically with information related to backup plugins we recommend to use. But I believe there are so many of them already on the market. So we're not going to develop, let's say, our own solution. We just want to integrate something, popular and stable. And I think that will be enough for now.
Okay.
I hope I answered the question. Yeah.
Some other questions. How can we get an example of the ordering page, or where can we download it? So I share it in the chat, the link itself, so you can take a look at this kind of sample And in future, if you're interested to get the same page or similar page and to go with Jelastic solution, you can contact us writing the email to info@jelastic.com or sales@jelastic.com, and we will help you to go further and have all the customizations that are required. Some questions, so we can...
Tatiana, can I add a little bit more here? So we are talking about customization of, let's say, this page, like landing page, which is good. However, it's important to mention that the package can be customized as well. So if you figure out like, okay, I want to add something extra to the package, right? Not only things that we offer by default. It's possible to customize the whole package. You can even fork it and customize it by yourself. So this is why we call WordPress cluster kit. So we give you a tool, and this tool can be used for own needs or for your customers. So, and you can easily customize it to make it a little bit different compared to others, or to, you know, to integrate your additional extra advanced knowledge inside.
Okay, great. So one question here. So we can use as WordPress high performance solution to customers. Basically, yes, this is a kind of solution not only for those companies who are looking for highly performing sites, but also for some digital agencies or software vendors or service providers who are looking for such kind of business model and offer highly performing WordPress for their customers already.
Yeah. There are two ways to collaborate. So you can collaborate with one of our partners, which we recommend actually. So for example, if you are living in a specific region, you have customer in a specific country, right? And if you have partner in that country, you can reach the partner and ask for like a Lsync account, for example, right? And then you don't need to go and buy like big amount of infrastructure, you know, to go through like deployment and so on and so on. It's, let's say, one of the easiest way to start. Another option, just go and create an ordinary account and apply this landing page to your account. So it's not necessary to have the whole platform for this, to be honest, like, because you can easily configure it for existing platforms already. So, or if you want really to have full control, then please reach our team and we will guide you how to set up a like private cloud, like how to set up your own cloud, or even like multi-cloud. So because it can be configured on top of multiple service providers, cloud service providers. Sorry. Yeah.
One more question.
Full flexibility. Yeah.
One more question. Can explain the Jelastic WCS plugin?
Can we explain Jelastic WCS plugin?
Yep.
So Jelastic WCS plugin shows that we can integrate WCS with Jelastic out of the box. So if you have Jelastic cluster, WCS can be easily integrated into Jelastic. That's how it works today. Just installing plugin inside WCS will not bring you any value because you need to have a cluster. You need to have a Jelastic cluster you need to have orchestrator.
Yeah, basically this kind of billing is most popular, it seems to me, among the service providers that we are working with right now.
Yeah, we love WCS, yeah, definitely. It's one of the most popular solutions. We did integration, tested it, it works good. So, and we can provide out of the box solution for this billing system.
Okay, some more questions to go. If shared storage lives on a single container, what happens if that container goes down?
Very good question. The system will have troubles with media files at the moment. Maybe not immediately, because if you go through CDN, it will most likely will be cached already in CDN. However, as I mentioned, Galera cluster is coming soon. It's possible to install already on request. It just goes through final testing state. And as soon as it's ready, it will be just checkbox, like, okay, install Galera cluster. sorry, GlusterFS, not Galera Cluster. I mixed it up, Galera database with GlusterFS. So if I hope in a month, let's say, right? Let's say like beginning next year, this checkbox will be available in the package, and then full automation will be available. So at the moment, it's available on request. So if you need GlusterFS, it's available. We will configure it for you.
Okay, one more question, technical one. How do you keep multi-web server content synchronized? Lsync. What kind?
So we recommend again like to keep all data, shared data on storage. So in this case, we don't need to do any Lsync. So problem is solved in this way. Yeah, we are working. I had some slides, additional slides for the end. Let's say we are working for more advanced solution for geo-distributed availability. Let's say when you set up cluster in one region and set up cluster in another region, and then interconnect these clusters between regions. So when the whole data center goes down, right, your website will still be live and will continue performing highly loaded traffic with great performance. In this case, we use Lsync between shared storage. Yes. So this solution is in testing stage. So we wanted to complete first of all like one cluster, like to make it fully ready, polish it, like everything is good, like great performance, like confirm that performance is great, like run through many customers to get great feedback, and at the end, if everything is fine, and everything is going well, in next year we will introduce this GeoDNS clustering out of the box as well, and it will look in pretty simple way as well. So you will just choose regions when you want to deploy and press button install, and Jelastic will do all heavy job on the background.
Okay, thanks, Ruslan. One more technical question, and then we will get back to two business ones. How do you deal with CI/CD and deploy WordPress sites from, for example, GitLab to the cluster?
Okay, very good question. So we use CI/CD for our own website, let's say. We integrated with Git repo. So it works in the following way. We have, let's say, two clusters at the moment in Europe and in United States. I'm talking how it works specifically for Jelastic website, yeah, how we use it internally. So we have like two production clusters, and they are connected to Git repo. And then each developer can create own environment, let's say, right? And each developer can do some changes inside that cluster, the dev cluster, let's say, or dev environment. After he created everything and tested by himself, he press a button like push to GitLab the changes, to Git repo the changes, not GitLab. So it can be GitLab, it can be GitHub, so it doesn't matter. We use GitLab. So then the changes will go to Git, first of all. It will not go to production. Then what happens? QA department wake up and says like, okay, we need to test it. And they create their own environment as well. They pull all these updates, push it by developer, and they can test that everything works properly. And after that, if everything goes well, so no problems, then we push this only to production. So this is how it works today within Jelastic team.
I would like to add here that we also provide some professional services in this direction. So if you need some help in setting up such kind of stuff, you can also contact our team, and we can discuss how to get such kind of configurations for your sites as well.
Right, so it's very good for more advanced teams, let's say, that value quality more than cost of resources, because honestly, it will require extra resources for you. or to set up these multiple environments, let's say. However, on using this approach, you can reduce issues with site-breaking updates. So you can improve quality of your server, of your services. So you can finally break fight between dev and marketing team. Yeah. Very often it happens. So, and actually Tatiana can share a lot of information about this because she is using this as well for her own needs. So sometimes marketing team needs to change something.
This is my everyday experience with WordPress. So if you're going to have any questions, you can drop me a message so I can share my experience. Okay, Ruslan, we have some more questions, so let's move on because we are not so, we are short in time right now. So you need your own Jelastic cluster for larger Jelastic providers. As far as I understand, this question is that if you need to install Jelastic with own orchestrator, if you are a larger hosting service provider, if I'm not correct.
Or definitely, if you are a large hosting service provider, that's the way to go, right? Because most likely you will want to get, you know, great density, like, you know, to offer your infrastructure. So not resell infrastructure of somebody else. So yes, if you are a service provider, even medium sized, like, so it's the way to go, like to install your own orchestrator. And just to let you know, so WordPress is the one of the solutions we offer. So we love WordPress very much. There is a huge market opportunities for WordPress. And as you can see, we are focusing on complex projects. So not on, let's say, shared cheap web hosting. It's because it's very, so many offers already, it's hard to, you know, to come up with something unique and make significant outcome at the end. So if you, again, like if you're a medium, large or large service provider, to installing Jelastic cluster for yourself, it's a good idea, definitely. So you can go with WordPress, you can go with Magento, you can go with Kubernetes, like, so depending on your customers.
Okay, thank you. So one more question. How is working Jelastic PaaS platform with physical servers where it is installed as Jelastic PaaS as work nodes? How are divided containers between more servers? Are you monitoring these servers? And what happens when physical server works on high load?
Okay, I will show you some cluster admin panel. Jelastic abstracts deployment to cluster for end customers. So you just add infrastructure nodes to the cluster. Let's say this demo cluster, it's our demo cluster. So it's not production. Let's say we just use it for our own stuff and for demonstrating abilities to our partners. So this cluster has multiple regions, so connected from different clouds like Azure Cloud. We have OVH here. I don't know, we have even like some bare metal infrastructure, I don't know, but in general, it's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 5, 8, 9, 10, about 10 regions, right? And each region has multiple nodes. Size of the nodes, we recommend to go like from 32 gigabyte and more. And then we deploy inside containers. We distribute load across these nodes. So we see, okay, this node is loaded now, and we don't put more containers on this node, like, so put containers on another node. And if, for example, a customer creates a cluster, we automatically distribute containers from the same layer. Layer means, let's say, application servers or database. So we distribute automatically across the different physical servers. So to reduce potential impact from downtimes, because sometimes physical nodes can go down as well. But if you have a cluster, it's already distributed across physical nodes, it will reduce impact. So it's done automatically, based on the load of physical hardware node. That's the answer to the question.
Okay, thank you. And one more question. Do you manage kernel updates on the cluster?
Yeah, actually, it was extra question. Do we provide monitoring? Yes, we provide monitoring. I forgot to answer. Yes, we provide monitoring out of the box, can be integrated. So these alerts will be received by you if you are owner of the cluster. If you don't want to manage the cluster specifically, like deal with infrastructure, like when it fails, when you need to upgrade the kernel, our team can offer professional services. So around this, at the end, you can focus on the, let's say, on business and marketing, and our team can do all management for you. We have two kind of customers. One kind of customers prefer to do it by themselves due to existing knowledge inside the team. So, and save money actually, right? Because managed services cost extra. And another kind of customers, they prefer just to focus on business and don't have headache with infrastructure management at all. So both options are available. And yes, we can do kernel updates. By default, we expect that partner hosting service provider will do kernel updates. We notify when new updates are coming, and we provide training sessions how to do it. So because it's impossible to operate if you don't have knowledge. But we always want to make sure that you have a great experience with the solution. So we provide again like training sessions for you. And then if you are good enough, you can do it by yourself. If you don't want to do it, then our team can jump and provide professional services for extra cost.
Okay, thank you. And one more question about WordPress cluster. What happens if the load balancer container goes down?
You need to have two for real like application. So what you do, actually, you see our cluster is up and running. I created before at the beginning of the presentation. So you need to have two like this. So you create two or three, and that's it. Like it will add two more containers and reconfigure the cluster, and that's it. By default, again, like we try to give a tool, a kit, right, for you. It's possible to configure by default to like 2 load balancers or like 3 load balancers. So up to you.
So yeah, just to add here, so basically we are offering by default the cluster with 1 load balancer, but it's rather easy to enlarge this number of load balancers. So it is made also automatically in a way. You just need to go to the dashboard and change the topology. Or if you're going to change the package itself, because you can fork it at our GitHub, and you can change the number of load balancers right in the manifest, and then import it to Jelastic platform. So in this case, it will be installed already with the custom number of load balancers or any other servers.
Yeah. Just to show you here, for example, again, like as we call this package by default as a kit, right? So, and this kit can be used for creating packages. This example from one of our partners. So what partner created? So you can do the same or a little bit different. It's up to you. So partner created, okay, a cluster which is called business, like 1 load balancer, and cluster which is called enterprise, like 2 load balancers. So by default, it's easy to adjust. As Tatiana said, it's just a matter of changing number in the configuration file.
Any other questions, guys? While audience is still thinking, maybe there will be some other questions. Ruslan, I think that you can show the slide with our offering for all it right now. Yeah,
just to finish the slides so that I skip just very brief overview. So you will get the slides, and what kind of functionality is available out of the box. Email notification, so customers get specific links and credentials. Like then Let's Encrypt add-on, how to manage the Let's Encrypt add-on, how to manage CDN, how to deploy custom SSL, then how to monitor usage, how to change some configurations files, how to check logs. You can even get SSH access and change firewall rules if you need. And you can pre-configure load alerts just in case something happens, and adjust horizontal scaling. So and of course, do collaboration with your team. So all this is available in Jelastic dashboard. And for webinar attendees, we have a limited offer for performance testing and fine-tuning of your application. Usually, it's not a task of service provider because you're responsible for your application and you know better how it should be tuned, fine-tuned. But as we have these load testing tools and we have this expertise for, let's say, like 10 first requests with this VP webinar code, we will offer free performance testing and fine-tuning while you migrating to Jelastic. So you will get very great numbers in Google ranking, let's say, load page, right? And we will make sure that your application is fine-tuned specifically for the cluster solution.
Okay, thank you, Ruslan. So I sent also the link to the form where you can send the request if you would like to try out this WordPress cluster. And in the notifications of this form, you can just specify in the description the code that is available right now at this slide. And I also sent it to the chat for you to copy. And as a result, you can get a possibility to have free performance testing and fine-tuning while migration from Jelastic team. So thank you, everyone.
Okay, so then thank you everyone for joining this webinar. I hope it was useful for you, so you learned something new. Feel free to go to our Git repo to review the package if you're a technical guy, or feel free to send requests and for testing, or even for enjoying this limited offer with performance tuning. And thank you again for joining this webinar, and let's catch up online via social media accounts.
Yeah, thank you everyone for joining. And if you're going to have any extra questions, don't hesitate to get in touch with us through the social media or through the marketing@jelastic.com.